Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old, to history, to anecdotes, to really wherever our whims take us. You saw the thumb, I know why you're here. You want to know how Black Canary can be her own mom. Does that even make sense? Is it clickbait? No, not really. This is one of my favorite confusing retcons, especially because it didn't actually have to be confusing at all. You know I love a hot mess. So we're gonna take some time to untangle Black Canary. And also just take a moment to ask the question, why some writers thought it was a good idea to have Green Arrow, aka Oliver Queen, hit on Black Canary by telling her how much he admired and liked her mom and how hot he thought she was. Stop it, Ollie. You did not spend that long on that island. I'm Sasha, and before we get started, if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button or hit that subscribe button. Join us on this comic book journey. Where are we gonna go next? Well, there's only one way to find out. So Black Canary for a time was one character, and then two, and then back to one again. So of course, as always, to unravel this, we have to go back to the beginning. Black Canary first appeared in Flash Comics number 86 in 1947, created by Robert Kanigher and Carmine Infantino. And she was initially Dinah Drake. She was designed to be a supporting character in Flash Comics, which doesn't actually mean that she was a supporting character to the Flash. Back in the day, those comics contained multiple stories, with of course the title hero normally getting the lead story, but there would be others inside. You were getting a lot of bang for your buck back in the day. Ideally, of course, your lead story would be strongest because that's what people were buying for, in theory, but you'd want the others to be strong too. So she appeared to beef up a character called Johnny Thunder. And well, it didn't work. She just ended up eclipsing Johnny entirely and eventually replacing him. Carmine Infantino stated, "I was drawing Johnny Thunder, which was not much of a character. I suppose he could have been better because his Thunderbolt was interesting, but the situations they were in were pretty juvenile." Bob Kanigher wrote those stories and he had no respect for the characters. These stories were nowhere near as good as the Flash stories. DC knew it, they knew Johnny Thunder was a loser. So Kanigher and I brought the Black Canary into the series. Immediately she got a good response, and it was bye bye Johnny Thunder. Nobody missed him. R.I.P. Johnny. He died as he lived. Maybe. I don't know. Black Canary was purposely designed to be a sexy character. The goal was to have her be strong, but also sexy. In fact, this is how Infantino was told to design the character. "How do you want me to draw her?" he said. "What's your fantasy of a good-looking girl? That's what I want." Isn't that a great line? So that's what I did. I made her strong in character and sexy in form. Bob didn't ask me for a character sketch. He had a lot of respect for me, I must say that. He always trusted my work. Bob loved my Black Canary design. I don't think Johnny Thunder did. R.I.P. As of Flash Comics number 92 in 1948, she got her own anthology series, which would bulk up her backstory. She was a florist, specifically with black hair. She wore a wig. That was a character trait for a long time. Her love interest was police detective Dinah Lance, and she would go on to join the Justice Society of America. And she would become one of the most popular characters at the time. Although her timing for that was a little rough, because she came in right at the end of the Golden Age and at the decline of the popularity of superheroes. But she would return alongside the rest of the Golden Age heroes in the Silver Age, but this was on Earth 2. The Earth established when the Silver Age Flash created the multiverse. Well, he didn't create it in the story, but he created it in a meta sense. In the story, he just went there. Earth 2 was where the heroes of the Golden Age were said to reside. This was a parallel Earth where all of their exploits had happened in the time period they had in the real world. So they were older as a result than their Silver Age counterparts. Now, in the Silver Age reestablishment on Earth 2, it was made clear that her and Larry were married. They'd gotten married in the interim, which did not turn out great for him, because you know, if you're a permanent love interest or beloved family member of any hero, you just need to start writing your will right now. If there's ever a drought of ideas, you are in danger, because you can be killed just like that for some quick pathos. You better run and hide in your bunker. So yeah, Larry died saving Black Canary in 1969. This was fighting a villain called Aquarius. It was actually the grief over her husband's death that caused Black Canary to move to Earth 1. Because move she did. She completely relocated from Earth 2 over to Earth 1 and became a member of the Justice League and a hero who had connections to all of those Silver Age characters that many people are more familiar with these days. It was at this point that she falls for and starts to have a relationship with Green Arrow. And at the start there was some, oh, but my husband, am I betraying him angst. She would also develop her famous canary cry at this point, her ultrasonic scream. And so we would go on. But by the 80s, there was a question that was brewing that some could no longer ignore. If Black Canary had been around since the Golden Age, and then moved from Earth 2 over to Earth 1, why did she still look so young? She should be about 60 years old. People were starting to do the math because DC had this long-running continuity. While for some it was a complete non-issue, others were genuinely wondering, wait a minute, she's 60. I mean, the aesthetic reasons for this on a meta level are obvious, but there's meta explanations, then there's canon explanations. So in 1983, we were graced with Justice League of America number 219 and 220. Which would explain both why she looked so young and why she now had a sonic scream. Get ready for it, you're not even close to ready. It's retcon magic time. It was established that Dinah and Larry had a daughter, Dinah Lance, who, get ready for it, was cursed by a wizard to have a sonic scream that she could not control. Cursed. And so Black Canary brought her to Johnny Thunder, hoping that he could do something to cure her with his magic thunderbolt. So despite the harsh words spoken, we actually need some backstory on Johnny Thunder. When we're talking about Johnny's thunderbolt, we're talking about a genie. Johnny got his powers by his control that he had over a genie, even though the genie had a lot of agency. So a lot of what we're about to describe is the genie's idea. That was Cliff Notes, by the way. Cliff Notes Johnny Thunder. There's also a dark Johnny Thunder plot going on, or doppelganger Johnny Thunder. This issue also was trying to do stuff with Johnny Thunder. But he couldn't. All he could do was place her in suspended animation. Her parents were so upset by this that Johnny decided that he had to do something to make them feel better, and so he decided that he would make them forget. But instead of making them forget that they ever had a daughter or anything like that, he just made them think that she died. Because that is way better than either thinking that she never existed or knowing that she was alive and suspended and that maybe someday there was hope. No, she's dead. Now we flash forward in this retcon to the battle with Aquarius. Larry still dies, but at the end of it, now Black Canary is dying too. And so she decides that she wants to see her daughter's grave one last time. Only when she gets there, the truth is revealed that her daughter is alive in suspended animation and that she has aged throughout this time. Again, there's nothing worse than being able to produce a sonic scream. I'm not buying it. They could have done something else. So the first Black Canary, dying, wished that there was somehow that she could pass on all her knowledge and her mantle to her daughter. He transfers her memories into her daughter's body so that her daughter, Dinah Lance, would become the new Black Canary. Ew. So now she has those memories of her mom being intimate with her dad, which is something that, I mean, no kid wants that. Come on. Along with a whole bunch of other things and the confusion because she wouldn't have any of her own memories because she was in suspended animation that entire time. So that retcon made it that Green Arrow didn't fall in love with the first Black Canary. He fell in love with the second one who thought that she was the first or had all the memories of the first. But it's okay though, for once Crisis on Infinite Earths is coming to save us. It's 1985 where this DC Universe event would compress all of the Earths into one Earth. At this point, Earths 2 and 1 would stop being separate things. Instead, the Golden Age heroes who remained inside of continuity would have been active on this main Earth, but before the newer crop of heroes. So it would go Justice Society of America, they all retire, Justice League. And in Black Canary's case, the post-Crisis retcon is not bad. Not all of the Crisis retcons were bad for the characters. This one's actually decent. So they kept the two people angle, but got rid of the memory transfer. She was just their daughter, who takes up her mother's mantle because she wants to, because she's inspired by growing up meeting all of these Justice Society heroes and hearing the stories about what they did, and about her mom's exploits. She would still have the same name as her mom, which some people would make a big deal about, and some writers would try and go into great detail to explain or call the first Black Canary Diana and stuff like that. But I mean, men name their sons after themselves all the time, and it's not that complicated. As long as they connote that they're two separate characters, which they did, it's totally fine that they had the same name. I mean, at this point, she's clearly a separate person. And I mean, you could just call her Laurel. I mean, the Arrowverse got around this problem. This origin would be cemented in Secret Origins number 50 in 1990, which would also give an increased backstory to her mom. Now her mom would have been trained by her father, Richard Drake, and she was going to become a cop, but was disillusioned when her father was killed. And so instead she became a vigilante and opened a flower shop. because no one suspects a florist. She would still meet and marry Larry Lance, now Private Eye, and they would have a daughter, who would have a meta gene, which would be why she would have the sonic scream. No wizards. There was some overlap that they kept. She too, for a time, also wore a wig, but then they decided that she would dye her hair blonde. Side note, she also had an ex-husband who briefly came up, and then every now and again it would be mentioned, like once in the blue moon. He doesn't really matter. He just exists. It is the second Black Canary, the daughter of the first, who goes on to found the Birds of Prey with Barbara Gordon, at the time Oracle. And it is this Black Canary who goes on to marry Ollie, for some reason. Yes, that was shade. So it all makes sense. We're done. It's settled. We're safe. No, of course not, because if you've been watching these histories for a while, you know what's coming. The New 52. In this event, Barry Allen would alter the timeline to save his mom. When he had to put it back, it didn't go back the same. This was so DC could implement a company-wide reboot, which they would later canonically shift the blame from, away from Barry Allen and onto Dr. Manhattan. This reboot would obliterate legacy characters, so many of them, and also separate certain characters and place them back on their original Earths. But with a character like Black Canary, who had firm roots on both Earths and was now firmly established with the main Earth, what to do? Well, they kept her on the main Earth, but they made her Dinah Drake again. Because no legacy characters. Legacies are bad and should feel bad, according to 2011 and 2012 DC. Why reward longtime readers or characters with growth? It's madness. No one wants that. We all know that in the real world, no one ages, no one passes down anything, and no one has kids. Salty. So now, meet the new Black Canary. Once again, Dinah Drake, one person. She marries Kurt Lance. Sorry, Larry. She founds the Birds of Prey on the main Earth, but not with Barbara, who is going through a complete retcon of her own, which would end up ultimately in her being a selfie-taking teenage girl. Batgirl would end up joining her team later on though. Now, because the New 52 was edgy, or more mature as it liked to brand itself, a lot of the characters' backstories were rendered darker, or they would just dial up the angst. Even in origins like Superman's, that would remain pretty much the same. So this Black Canary was born to a teenage mom. She was placed in the foster care system at age 4 and bounced around it up until age 10, where she ran away. Then she would grow up on the streets of Gotham. That was until she met Desmond Lamar. He was an ex-Special Forces agent and martial arts sensei. He would train her and also let her have a job at his dojo, which he would leave to her after he died of brain cancer. Drama. Kurt Lance, who she would end up marrying, was a member of Team 7, which she ended up being recruited to because of her martial arts skills. Kurt's like Larry in one key way. He dies, but only for a little bit. Then he has a whole, is he alive? Spoilers, yes he is. Characterizations would shift a lot in the New 52, so we would go from this and Black Canary learning about a potential secret meta mother and experimentation upon her genes, to her having to move in with Barbara and joining/forming a rock band called Ashes on Sunday. I did read that entire Black Canary mini, and I can say that it's been years and I am still perplexed. We would now establish that her sonic scream was a result of experimentation upon her, some of it by Team 7, and it involved DNA extracted from an alien. I don't know. I'd been reading Black Canary for a decent amount at this time, and it just felt like the New 52 wasn't sure exactly what to do with her. That their main mandate was that they wanted to keep her separate from Ollie. Really missed her leading the Justice League. Didn't hate the lack of Green Arrow though. Yes, I know, the shade. It's cold. If you love Green Arrow and Black Canary, my opinion and subtle assault should have absolutely no bearing on you, unless you want it to. I have my reasons for how I feel about them. Maybe one day. However, as we've also talked about, the New 52 was not the best received. And so a few years in, plans would be made for a soft retcon/reboot, a relaunching that was called DC Rebirth. This event would largely involve Wally West, who would restore a lot of memories and a lot of canon, but not all of it. He was the choice because him being gone was a huge point of contention in the New 52. Justice for Wally, but also justice for Wally's kids. The funny thing was, one of Wally's main concerns when he was outside of the timeline observing everything was the fact that Ollie and her weren't together anymore. He was like, oh, it's not right. He's there shipping from outside the timeline. He's like, these people now kiss. Their relationship actually was something that a lot of fans missed. And so one of the things in Green Arrow Rebirth is that the two of them meet again and hit it off. But what about her backstory? Well, some elements of it would resemble her post-crisis appearance. Her friendship with Barbara was also closer to what it had been while the two of them were on Birds of Prey, more so than the roommates arc later on in the New 52. She would again be on the Justice League, but again not quite to the same extent that she had been post-crisis. She had so much authority post-Crisis. Like, she was just so well respected. The New 52 tried to do that, but it never quite came across in the same way, in my opinion at least. The thing with Rebirth is because it's a soft reboot, most of the New 52 canon, a lot of it still stands, but it's handled in such a way that you can ignore it if you want to, or keep it if you want to. So if you want to pretend that some of the stuff didn't happen, you can. But at the same time, a lot of it did. So basically, whether you liked it or not, you can have it both ways. I mean, even if she remembers all of it, now she's gonna have these two dissonant timelines inside of her head, and it's gonna mess her up, and Heroes in Crisis, and just a whole bunch of things. Rebirth has been a bit of a double-edged sword in the fact that a lot of things were reestablished, but for certain characters it now feels like there's even more confusion about what to do with them. But don't worry, I'm sure there will be more explanations and more universe changes coming down the pipeline. So that was Black Canary. Which of her origins do you enjoy the most? Are you actually loving Rebirth Black Canary? Did you love her band, Ashes on Sunday? I will always maintain it did not need to be as complicated as it got. If you have any more character origins you want me to untangle, leave them down below. And thanks so much for watching Casually Comics. Please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.